Great. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're super excited to have this collaboration with such an amazing organization. It's so cool to see many people tuning in to hear about it.
Yeah.
And so I guess first I'll just tell people what's going on, what we have planned, and then maybe I'd love for you to tell people a little bit more about your organization and the kind of things that you're doing. So
Sure.
Um, basically, we're super excited that at SRC this fall, we're going to be starting special trips, join with participants, young girls from the Black Girls Dive Foundation. They'll be coming to Miami, to Florida. They're going to be joining our team to go out and do real research for the day, real shark tagging, sampling, just helping us and helping our graduate students and undergrad students collect critical scientific data that's going to help inform conservation management of sharks. And our students are going to be forming, they're going to be acting also as kind of peer-to-peer mentors to the girls. The girls are high school age. And we've also, led by Nevada, have submitted a grant to the National Science Foundation to ramp up this collaboration and to have a more long-term meaningful relationship where over 4 years, girls from the Black Girls Dive Foundation are going to be joining us in Miami on multiple trips where they're going to do the in-field research, but also in-classroom research where they're going to get trained by our team in various STEM disciplines and relating to our shark research. And then we're going to have, again, a peer-to-peer mentor-mentee relationship with the graduate and undergrad students that's hopefully going to last 4 years through college. So Nevada, correct me if I'm wrong if I left anything out. Alice, I'll let you take it from here because I'd just love to hear from you.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. So I am the co-founder of Black Girls Life Foundation. We founded this organization back in 2017, myself and my daughter. We're looking to have an impact on the pipeline to get young ladies who are from underserved and under-resourced communities to have other opportunities other than your typical, what I call the traditional STEM careers. There are other pathways out there. So we were looking for a way to tap into that pipeline and build that pipeline. So with our organization, the program is called STREAMS, which stands for Science, Technology, Robotics, Engineering, the Arts, Mathematics, and Scuba and Scientific Diving. So we're integrating STEM and the arts with scuba and scientific diving. And I got to tell you, the girls are just so excited. Just watching them, they're learning in those aha moments. So it is definitely rewarding for myself and our team. We take these young ladies as early as 9, and we follow them all the way up through college. It is a progressive program, so each year it gets a little more advanced. So they take classes in scuba, also learning about the physics of scuba, so how the body responds under pressure and breathing compressed air. So they're learning about Archimedes principles, Henry's law, Boyle's law, and so forth, doing in experiments. They take classes in underwater photography. So it was really interesting to watch them have that aha moment when we talked about that Roy G. Biv mnemonic, and they realized that actually was with something. When they were learning about post-processing and putting colors back in. They take classes in underwater remote operated vehicle navigation. So not only are they designing and building them, they're also learning how to maneuver those. We also have aerial drone classes, so they're also learning how to code and engage in mission flight planning, which is really cool because I know with your program, with using the satellite tags, they use R. So it's going to be a nice progression to move them from Blockly to Python to R. So it's, I'm really excited about that, and they are too. At 16, they sit for the FAA drone pilot license, so they are prepared and ready to do that. They're learning about scientific diving principles and techniques, how to work, how the transect is used, how to collect data, and drawing inferences based on the data that they've collected. Let's see what else they're doing. The end of every year is our big capstone. So what the capstone is, it's like that end of the year culmination of everything they've learned for that entire year, putting it all together and doing a project. So they have a capstone at the end of every year. Thus far, they've gone to Andros Island, where they studied freshwater versus saltwater blue holes. They went to Egypt, dove the Red Sea, where they really got an understanding about buoyancy and the saltiness of the Red Sea. So applying, continuously applying those science principles. I think that I missed anything. Oh, 3D printing. So we're getting into Project Coral, where they are learning about 3D printing, and we'll be printing 3D coral segments to create an artificial reef. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited about that. And that whole learning process, I'll never forget, one of our students said, well, isn't that plastic? Why are we putting plastic in the ocean? I'm like, no, it's cornstarch, it's not plastic. But but to hear them thinking, like, okay, we have a big plastic pollution campaign, and to have that click for them, like, well, we're about removing plastic. Why are we putting plastic in the ocean? So it's really cool to watch them make those connections and ask questions. We also have a cultural component. So every place that we go, they're learning about that particular area, the culture. They had to take a year of Arabic when they went to, a year before they went to Egypt. They spent the whole year with a native speaker learning Arabic. Same thing on Andros Island, learning about the culture, the economy, and so forth, visiting medicine men, to understand, the alternatives to medicinal practices other than big pharma. So that was really great. They had a chance to actually sit and talk to a real medicine man. So I think it's a great program. The girls love it. They look forward to coming back every year. It is, like I said, it's a continuous program. So we can have them for up to, 6 or 7 years. Once they go on to college, they come back as alumni. So that's we continue with the peer-to-peer mentoring, where they're teaching the other cohorts and so forth.
That's just amazing. What an incredible program. We're so honored to contribute and to be a collaborator, partner with you guys.
Yeah, so we are so proud. We're so excited.
I guess, one of the things, we've, in the last couple of years, certainly has been really eye-opening, and in terms of some of the, I think, this has always been there, but certainly last years have been put in the forefront, some of the deficiencies in STEM with regards to representation, with regards to, racial diversity, equity, inclusion, especially, in the scientific community. And I would love to hear from you, how, what you think of the importance of, creating opportunities for underrepresented, minoritized, previously disadvantaged, historically marginalized communities to get involved hands-on in STEM.
One of the biggest things is it gives them another opportunity instead of those traditional career paths, but also, it's a different eye, different perspective on how they may see things or what's going on in their community and how they're being impacted. One of the big things for me and why we created this program, it was all about changing that cultural narrative and what I call cultural practices in the Black community, particularly as it relates to the hair, getting the hair wet, the misconception that in order to be in the marine sciences, you have to know how to swim, which is not true. You have to be engaged in water, which is not true. You can still do wet lab work without getting in the water. I think that was driving a lot of the I guess the lack of representation in this particular area again, it's the cultural practices, and then it's the misunderstanding. From a historical standpoint, we know that blacks were excluded from the pools, and that type of segregation has lasted for generations. The conversations are generational. With you kind of looked at kind of odd if you know how to swim. It's surprising when it shouldn't be. I always tell people that swimming is a life skill. Just like driving, you have to know how. No one's asking you to be a Michael Phelps or anything, or Simone.
No.
But you need to know how to save your life.
Right. I think that's super important. The thing you're saying, I mean, even that exclusion from pools and other opportunities, I mean, that feeds into the culture, right? I mean, that is just passed on too. So, and that once that's in the culture, that's very hard to change.
It is very hard to change. And I still hear these same conversations. Oh, blacks aren't supposed to swim. What are you doing in the water? There's jaws in the water. That whole movie just didn't help at all. That's for anyone, regardless of your culture. That movie just didn't help. But yeah, it's this fear of water, and it's led to a lot of tragedies. African American blacks are 5 times more likely to drown. We've had a couple instances in my own community where a kid was out playing in the water, something happened, and because mom couldn't swim, they both perished. So a mother's natural instinct is to go save her kid, and you forget that you can't swim. The thing you're focused on is getting your kid out of the water. But so it's trying to move past that, change the narrative, get more people actively engaged in aquatic recreation.
Yeah, that's just super important. With regards to, let's say, the STEM in general, I mean, marine STEM obviously is dear to your heart. And I'd say both STEM and marine STEM in general. What do you think some of the obstacles are? I guess, I mean, you've listed some, but what do you think the major obstacles are to increasing engagement and representation, and the having young girls, particularly young Black girls, go into sciences and marine sciences? What do you think some of the challenges are, and the biggest challenges, and what do you think the biggest solutions are, I guess?
I think one of the big things, and you and I, when we developed that NSF grant, we talked about equity and equality, and inclusion. And one barrier is a socioeconomic barrier, because oftentimes those field studies, those field experiences are not paid. And there's an expectation, oftentimes in the Black community, that they are contributing financially to the household. So they have summer jobs. They don't have the luxury of saying, I'm not going to take that paying job to help my family. I'm going to go do this field experience that doesn't pay. So I think increasing those opportunities, and I think they're slowly, getting there, with the RAUs and a couple other initiatives that are out there. But that is a major issue with any underserved or under-resourced communities. When you start saying, in order to get in this field, you need these field experiences, but the field experiences are not paid. So it is a deterrent. So I think that is a huge hurdle.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons we did this grant is one of the big reasons is because of that, to provide opportunities. One of the things we've noticed, because, we are committed to supporting diversity, equity, inclusion in the marine sciences, and we especially try to target, underrepresented, minoritized groups, to bring them out on our research vessels to participate and get hands-on research. And, they don't have to pay, but one of the things that, we realize is that, one of the challenges we face is it's a long day on the boat, and, they have to get there and back. And if you're from, and if you're from, a community where there's, social economic problems, just being driven to a dock and home, having parents take the time away from work or the gas money to go an extra few miles, that is significant. And one of the things we're trying to do to break down that is to try to find ways to actually help, pay for the transportation to and from. To provide lunches on the boat, because something that we never thought about, is that, they, some of these kids are in programs where those programs are providing lunch at school.
That's right.
And so, we need to be able to meet that as well.
Yeah. And that's always been a big hurdle that always impacts program retention is the transportation factor, that they can't get there on a consistent basis. And like you said, when you're not bringing in a lot of money, a parent can't just take off work and or be late, particularly consistently late. If you're on a Saturday program, it's like I have no means of getting my child there. So yeah, that is another huge hurdle that we are working on. Again, what's why that grant is there, not only to provide money for internships, we even position put in the budget passport money. you know when you think about household budgets and priorities for a kid, passport, in that particular household, it's not a priority. Neither would swim lessons. So it's about prioritizing their household budget. So it was like we had to put monies in for the passport. We had to put monies in for incidentals and luggage. Something that for others it seems second nature, but it's like it really isn't. It really isn't. So you have to account for those things.
What would you say, with our trips and, coming into Miami to come out on the boat, go shark tagging, participate in research, interact with our students at the university, have the girls, who are high school age interact with university students. What would you say that the girls and you are most looking forward to on the upcoming Black Girls Dive Foundation trips with us?
First and foremost, the college experience in itself, to get them on campus, to get them in that science space. As you and I both know, science is a culture in and of itself. It has its own language, its own unique practices and rites of passage. As you and I both went through the rites of passage through that dissertation process, it is a rites of passage that I think that I'm really looking forward to. I'm all about putting them in a space where they're developing what I call those habits of mind and habits of speak, to be around other scientists so they can begin to develop their own science identity, their own science self-efficacy, and not feel, that they can't see themselves in that space. So that's what we're, and of course, everyone's, just talking about getting on the boat. That's their big thing. It's like, we're gonna get on the boat. We're gonna see sharks. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, the sharks are definitely the X factor.
Yeah. So, just talking to them about that. We actually had uploaded your TED talk into one of our classes. We were talking about, conservation and shark finning and whatnot. So just learning about not just the shark finning, but sustainable fishing and so forth. So they're really getting into, okay, I see how I can make an impact at a restaurant, and my choice of what to purchase. So it's really having what I call a robust, well-rounded impact for them.
I love it. I can't wait to meet your students, the girls, you in person, and just to go out, be in nature and doing science. I think I love the collaborative science. I'm super excited. I'm excited for them to meet the students, like you said, get that kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I guess if I imagine people, how can they get involved if they want to be part of the foundation? What can they do?
Oh, we're always looking for volunteers, always looking for scientists, even, what I call the travelers of the world. We always, we're going to start doing a component where we're having different people come in who have traveled to certain parts to kind of discuss their experiences. It's so funny when we're talking about South Georgia, and, the first thing, they're thinking about Atlanta. They're like, never heard of a South Georgia. I'm like, no, not Atlanta. You're talking about the king penguins and whatnot. So we're going to have someone come in and talk about that. Talk about the South African penguins and hopefully having, fingers crossed, getting a capstone there so they can see those penguins. BlackGirlsDiveFoundation.org. We have a link for volunteers, whether it's a STEM facilitator. Because we are a hybrid program, we started off as a hybrid program. one of my board members had the foresight to do that. So when COVID hit, we actually didn't skip a beat because they were already used to being hybrid. But so it allows a broader reach for people around the world to reach us through being in our online classroom, through Google Meets, and doing a lecture. So we've made the program pretty accessible. There's some other strategic things we're thinking about doing, so we can have even further touch points through the opposite direction, where we can get more kids in, more children in, so they can participate. But right now, at least we have the opportunity to have those experts and speakers that can participate from all over the world.
Yeah, and I know you guys are coming, but I know that our team, our students, and I'm sure staff would love to be involved as well.
Yes. They are really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking to see them, forward to meet them. We got a question from Valerie from Miami, and she wants to know, what are some of the things that we can do in our everyday lives to help close the gap or create opportunities for underrepresented people in the sciences and beyond?
Oh, that's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, it's getting people who are passionate like you and I about this space, and getting them to volunteer. Reaching out, even in their own neighborhoods, to see who's around, or going to schools just so they can hear others in that space. Talk about their careers. Even talking about scuba diving and all the magnificence that goes along with that. So I think it's just taking that time out. Everybody can do their part. To just to go out and reach out to the youth, because that's where it's going to start. If we're going to have any type of impact with climate change, it starts with our youth. You got to get them young.
I agree. I think one of the things that's always, I think is critical is education. And I wish there was so much more money invested in education in this country and other countries. I mean, it's just, everyone's life depends on education. And I mean, at all levels. But I imagine that when it comes to, marginalized and underrepresented communities, how important education is, how important exposure is, how important opportunities are. And that's why I feel very honored to be working with you, and for our team to be working together towards that, because
Absolutely.
I do think that is critical, and especially from learning from you and others, leaders in the space.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are definitely excited. It's, let me choose my words carefully. With people under, first and foremost, it's always about the conversation is that first step. And being able to see other people's viewpoints, even something as basic as understanding the difference between something being equal versus equitable.
Right.
It's a big conversation. Some people think they're synonymous terms, and they are not. So it's just about having those conversations, being adults about it, being able to respect other people's viewpoints, and just come together, for a solution. I'm thankful that there seems to be actually a seismic shift going on right now, where people are more open, to receiving messages, to listening to people, and I'm looking forward to what's to come for not only just our organization, even our partnership, and doing bigger and better things, a greater reach, with both of our work towards equality and equity and inclusion.
Absolutely. Well said. And, I think, I guess one of the things I just also absolutely love about what you do and what your organization does is, not only are you having that kind of participatory experiences that are obviously life-changing and engaging people in new places and new spaces, but and bringing them into STEM, but the fact that you combine it with the environment and there's a lot of programs I think that are interested in supporting minorities in STEM, but the idea of combining it with kind of environmentalism, especially ocean environmentalism, is extremely exciting and extremely important. And I'm super impressive and super important, and just a wonderful thing about the Black Girls Dive Foundation.
Thank you. It's always amazed me. It's like, what are we? The ocean was 72% of the mass of Earth, and it's like it's the least explored. We dump a lot of money in in space, but it's like it's time,
Right.
to be earthbound.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they and
And,
they and they are liking it. Like I said, understanding about everything as small as microplastics to sustainable fishing, what you should eat, how things are procured, starting them young, because
right.
they'll tell mom and dad at the table, we really shouldn't have this.
Yeah, that's where conservation happens, at the dinner table, right? I mean, and even if you're not old enough to vote, you can influence your parents, right? I think that's a
Nothing like the
huge
guilt
thing.
from your child.
Oh, absolutely. Had me go vegetarian.
Right.
I think what you're saying resonates really strongly with a lot of people and myself, and I think we're super pumped to be working with you. We're super pumped that your commitment and your groups to conservation, because especially through these outdoor experiences, and I can tell you, in terms of next steps, I definitely want to learn from the girls. I want them to take me scuba diving, and I want to go see sharks with them. We plan a trip to the Bahamas or
Oh,
somewhere in Florida.
absolutely. And I call them my good luck charms, because every time we go somewhere for our capstone, just amazing things happen. It was like when we were in Egypt, I had never seen a Spanish dancer, but when we did a night dive in Sharm el Sheikh, it was like the girls were there and all the Spanish divers came out. The whale sharks were seen, even though they
Oh
knew
my
it was whale
goodness.
sharks at the Georgia Aquarium, but the whale sharks came out, to see the clams with their mouths open. It's just like, it was all changing for them, particularly that night dive. That was their first night dive. So
That's a big deal for anyone, let alone go to Egypt,
right.
Red Sea. I mean, my goodness.
Right, yeah, 10 and 11 going to Egypt. And I told them, they dove the tug of the ocean, and I'm like, ladies, these are bucket list things for adults, and you guys can already say you dove the tug of the ocean, you dove Ras Muhammad, all before you're 16.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah. How is the foundation? Where does it get a lot of its funding to do this?
So we've been fortunate with a combination of our donors as well as grants. As you know, I
I
write a
know.
lot of grants because the program is free. We don't want, scuba diving is an expensive sport.
Yeah, it is.
So that's again the economic barrier. Not only do you have to pay for the trip, you need to either rent or purchase dive equipment, and
Yeah.
it's like it goes back to budgetary priorities. So
Exactly. That's what I was wondering. And it's not something that you can skimp out on. You can't like be like, well, we're gonna get this one doesn't work so well, but
right, don't
use
worry
this
about that
regulator.
regulator.
Don't worry, just the air pressure hose isn't working. You won't know how much air you have left in your tank, but you're good. When you start
Right.
feeling weird, come back up.
So yeah, so it's free. The program's free. They go through their progressive even with their certification. So we have our advanced open water divers that are certified, so they're moving on to master diver and dive master.
Oh my goodness, it's
So
amazing.
so they are chugging along. We're actually about to cert out on Labor Day weekend. We're doing another open water certification for our third and fourth cohort. And they're pumped because they're like, well, once we get this certification, that means we can go and dive in the Georgia Aquarium. And so we have an aquarium dive component where they're learning about dive aquarium operations. And so they dive at Georgia Aquarium, they dive at Epcot, Denver Aquarium, and I'm missing one. Those are the three big ones
Cool.
that they get in their experience.
Cool. So I see there's a cool question from Adrian Artsy, who wants to know, can new equipment be donated to the foundation?
Absolutely. Just go to our info at Black Girls Dive Foundation, or the link on our page. If anyone wants to donate any equipment, you can never have too much equipment, particularly for youth. They're growing like weeds. Like I said, we get them at 9. So, we're always needing, equipment, wetsuits, dry suits because they're about to get their dry suit training.
Wow.
So yeah, they dry suit and full face mask. They actually have the pink full face mask.
Yes, yes. Amazing.
So they're excited about. I think the thing that excites them about the full face mask is that they can talk. Like, I don't know if that's going to be a distraction or not.
Like, if you ever use those, you can see they don't work so well underwater, but it's
Right.
still, it works for when you need it, to
Right.
can't have
But
a
the important
conversation,
thing,
but you can certainly,
yeah.
yeah, it helps with communicating. Well, that's super cool. And I'm really excited. Is there, is there anything else you want to tell us about the organization or about what you guys are up to before we sign off?
Right now we're launching the Georgia Aquarium chapter in the fall, so we're pretty busy. Actually, our new cohort is actually at the pool as we speak, doing their pool engagement, getting their swim testing done. And it's my hope, pre-COVID, we had some pretty big plans. It was our goal to have a chapter in Tanzania. So it's my goal to, circle back and see if we can actually get a Black Girls Dive in Tanzania. So we're working on, fingers crossed.
They got some nice whale sharks there too.
Yes, definitely. But and I know
awesome.
they can't wait to, because they actually thought they were going to be able to come on and ask you questions. I'm like, I'm not going to have you guys inundate him today. I'm like, you guys get a chance to meet him in person. The Shark Week, they were glued to the television, so they are really looking forward to coming to Miami. And we actually had a couple adults who were like, can we tag along? I'm like, no, this is for the youth. So we are very, very excited. It's like a dream come true to have even this type of partnership. You know what I mean? It's extends. I mean, the shark tagging is phenomenal, but to actually be in that space at the University of Miami, one of the best marine and atmospheric schools that we have, actually see, meet other students, talk to other students, and get that opportunity to hear from them, what does it take to be successful, even in that program? What does that application process look like for that program? So that, I'm really, really looking forward to having them engage with those students and understand, everything's always glorified on television. It's like, but you need to talk to the students. And I used to share with them the experience when I was a professor, and with the students at one point, CSI was the big rave. And, everyone wanted to do forensics. And it's like, they're not in Armani suits. That's television. You know what I mean? They're not looking like Shamar Moore with, Armani loafers on at a crime scene. So, it's the same thing with this. It's like, I need you to see, what this space actually looks like, what's expected, what coursework you have to take. It's not all glitz and glamour. You're going to have to take calculus. You're going to have to take OChem. It's some things you have to do.
Yeah, I know. I always say that. Listen, I when people contact me about getting involved in the research or wanting to volunteer, want to be a part of the team or a grad student, I already know they're going to say that they love sharks and they love the ocean. Yeah, that's why you're contacting me. But you can do that. You can love sharks and love the ocean in many different careers and help in many different ways. A scientific career, you also have to have the passion, love for science. And that has to be a huge driver of what you do. And you obviously have to have the skills. So having, like you're saying, that exposure and that learning experience and speaking to people, what is undergrad like? What is grad school like? What is the pipeline? How do you get there? I think that is going to be really rewarding.
The grit that's required. I mean, I'm sure the experience when your data set doesn't run right. You need fortitude.
Oh yeah. It's not always easy. You know, I think I think I'm looking to, and I know my students will as well, learn from the girls as well. And we're always want to increase our allyship. We want to be better advocates for minorities, in science and marine science. And I think to and to educate ourselves and learn about the challenges that they face and understand, some of those barriers and in ways to help break down those barriers. And I think, it would be really rewarding for us as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing is what's going to be big for me for them to understand, even how to select your mentor, how to select your lab. All
Right.
that is key. That can go downhill very fast.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just so excited. I'm like, yes, I can't wait for them to get on the boat, but it's like, I need you to talk to them. They're going to tell you about selecting your lab. They're going to tell you how these classes, get the gen eds out the way. I really want them to hear.
Yeah.
Professors always give their spiel, but to hear from the actual student.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, a guidance counselor that's 20 years out of it is not going to provide the relevant information, and especially marine science is niche, and it's not, and to hear from people who are living there right now, I think is going to be really valuable.
Yeah. So I am excited. Oh, we have another question. Oh, we're based in Maryland, New Jersey, and Georgia. Someone was asking where we were based.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. We are so excited, and I can't wait to hang out with you in person, to meet the girls, to go shark tagging with you, and just continue this collaboration. So thank you so much, and you have yourself a great evening. Thank you for everyone for joining in.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, more to come.
All right, bye-bye.